Welcome back to the Adonai Animation Gameplay Workshop. This is class overview number 6. Today we looked at adding animations between two states inside a state machine inside the animation blueprint, and how we can reference a character blueprint inside the animation blueprint. So as you can see, I have my map open over there, and let's go look at the first thing we're going to look at is what we did to make uh, more code compared to the last one. So last week or yesterday, we left off with just this much code, which was for crouching and uncrouching. Today we're adding a brand new variable called isProne. This variable is going to dictate if our character is going to be in a prone position or not. So I've attached it to an input variable z that's the same as left control, and then it goes to a flip-flop, and then it's going to is prone true or false. The other reason why we have the set of variables after it is because whenever our character is in prone, he cannot be in a crouching position, and whenever our character is in a crouch position, he cannot be in a prone position, which is why those exist. And other than that, I still have the character movement added onto the prone because we don't have a prone walk animation, but if we did, we can change this walk speed. So anyway, let's go to the animation blueprint and look at what we did here. So earlier yesterday, what we were doing is from the get actor of class blueprint, we were directly dragging out a node and then searching for our variables such as is crouching and everything, and using that to reference. But today what we've done is we went ahead and promoted it to a variable, and then I have named the variable as a character blueprint reference. So this is an object type blueprint reference variable. So if you go under actors, then it's an object reference. And here you can search for exactly the one you want. So if I search for playable character Pratt, this is the object reference it's currently using. Okay. And since now it has become a variable, we can use the get function from the left side and search for is crouching or is prone, which are the variables that are present here. So this particular variable is a direct reference to this entire blueprint, this entire character. So anything you can control from here, you can do from here as well. Okay, so we dragged the character blueprint reference, and then we got the is prone blueprint variable from here. And then we created a brand new variable on the animation blueprint itself called ABP or is prone. This is for communicating between or inside the state machines. So yeah, we have them attached together. So anytime this turns true or this turns false, this also follows, right? So previously, the way we had our crouch set up is that we had this directly as just two single lanes. So here, when it says animation blueprint is crouching, it's going to go into crouch. And whenever it says animation blueprint is not crouching, it's going to go away from crouch. So if we go ahead and play, then we can press crouch. As you can see, like the animation isn't really snapping because blending between crouch and idle animation is fairly easy. So Unreal is able to do it themselves. But for instance, we wanted to add an animation between the 2 points. So instead of our character just snapping between the 2 points, it needs to do something like, let me stop that real quick. You wanted to play this particular animation. So as you can see, like he's putting his hands on the ground to push himself up and then kind of jump up instead of going straight from an idle walk position to this prone position. It's doing this animation. So the way we did that was by creating a cycle. Stand to prone and prone to stand. Skills here. There you go. So from idle, we're going to stand to prone. This is our animation that we want our character to follow whenever he is going into the prone state. And then we have the other side, which is basically the inverse of this. Okay. And then we wanted to make sure that we have the transition rules properly. So just like it was for crouch, we have the same thing set up for animation blueprint is prone. As soon as it's true, it can enter this transition. So it's going to go from idle to here. And whenever it's on prone, um, animation blueprint is not prone anymore, this statement becomes true, then it will pass along here. So that begs the question, what are the transition rules inside these two? So these right here are transition rules based on animation timing. So the way what we have done here is we have looked up for a time remaining ratio. What this means is how much percentage of our animation is left. And now we're comparing it with a float math function, which is less than. So as long as 0.05, so as long as less than 5% of the animation is remaining, this is going to turn true. Because this is a boolean, so it can only either go true or it can go false. So it's gonna stay false for like the first 95% of the animation time, and as soon as it gets less than 5%, this is gonna turn true, which means it can enter the transition state, which means it will go to the next one. And it's exactly the same thing here. Time remaining ratio less than 0.05, and then it can enter this transition. Okay, great. So now, the only other thing that you need to be careful of is that these animations need to have their loop animation turned off. If you don't have their loop animation turned off, the time remaining ratio isn't going to do anything because the animation is constantly going to keep itself infinitely looping. But also, the animation here, this one needs to have a loop animation because this is an idle, so the player can stay in this state forever. And yeah, that was about it. So now if I go ahead and play, as soon as I press the Z button, it's going to do the prone animation. And like obviously we can't move, but we can still spin around. And as you can see, he's kind of breathing. And that's the idle animation. And if you press Z again, then he stands back up. And then it works with crouch as well. All right. That was all we learned today.